question comes from Joshua. You are now unmuted.
Hi, General Bonta. It's Josh Gerstein with Politico. So Judge Immergut already issued a TRO, which the Trump administration has appealed to the Ninth Circuit. Are you going to have difficulties, since that's on appeal to the Ninth Circuit, to get the judge to take up basically a very similar issue, since usually they lose jurisdiction once there's an appeal?
I don't think so. We are amending the complaint today. Oregon is amending the complaint, and we're joining as a party, and we're bringing a separate temporary restraining order because of this additional factual scenario. The court ruled on the deployment and the federalization of the National Guard in Oregon. That is on appeal, but no ruling yet. And we think that this new deployment of what will eventually be 300 National Guards people from California to Oregon is deserving of an additional temporary restraining order, and has its own independent existence that needs to be placed before this judge and have a ruling on it. I think that this is a very staggering end run around the court's order yesterday. I think the Trump administration knows exactly what the order says yesterday, that there was no factual basis for the deployment of the federalization of the National Guard in Oregon. Judge made very clear to point out that in the United States, we are a nation of constitutional law, not martial law. Had very strong and strict words for the Trump administration. And now, in their attempt to end run the judge's order, they're deploying 300 more troops from California. So I don't think the appeal to the Ninth Circuit at all prevents the appropriateness or the ability of our presentation before the court, our request for a temporary restraining order. We are seeking a hearing today, and we could get an order as early as tonight. And I don't think the appeal on yesterday's TRO will prevent that. I'm not sure how the court feels about this, but I can't imagine that any court that issues an order preventing the National Guard from being federalized in a state and saying that there was no basis for it, and that the facts as presented by the president were actually not existent on the ground. And I think she used that the decision by Trump was untethered to the facts. And then in response, the next day, within 24 hours, that the president brings National Guard from another state into this into Oregon. I just don't see how she's going to be pleased with that or think that that's appropriate. But we'll see. We're going to present our facts, our law, and I don't think that the order yesterday or its appeal gets in the way of our ability to rightfully and lawfully present a request for a restraining order on this new set of facts today.
Thank you.
Next question comes from Lee. You're now unmuted.
Can't hear you, Lee.
Lee, you have to unmute yourself in addition to us unmuting you.
Oh, I'm sorry, I just did. Sorry. If the troops in Los Angeles, federalized troops in Los Angeles, have at this point been cleared to effectively stand guard outside of federal property here, why would they not be viable to do the same in Portland or anywhere else?
By here, I think you are referring to LA or California. I don't know where you are, but I presume you're talking about California.
Yeah.
Because the ability to federalize the National Guard requires a very strong set of and clear set of factual circumstances on the ground. Congress has made it clear only if there's a rebellion or an invasion or the inability of the federal government to enforce the federal law with the normal forces, with the ordinary forces, then in those circumstances only can they deploy. And those facts are time specific, they're geographic specific. The arguments that the Trump administration made with respect to the August 8th deployment of 300 National Guard in Los Angeles. So not to be confused with the original deployment in June, in early June. So there was an additional deployment for another 90 days of 300 National Guard on August 8th. And their arguments were that these troops were absolutely necessary to be in Los Angeles, to keep the peace in Los Angeles because of the facts on the ground in Los Angeles, because not what was happening in Portland, not what was happening in some other city in another state 1,000 miles away, that hadn't even happened yet on August 8th. And you know, they didn't have a crystal ball to see what was going to happen or not happen, as it were, in Portland in late September. So they do not have the carte blanche, as I just mentioned, to deploy whatever military they want, whenever they want, because of the facts on the ground in Los Angeles on August 8th. They just can't. And that is not how Congress has given them authority. So they need to present a set of facts that justify the deployment in Portland. They have not. The court said yesterday they have not. The court said yesterday they're likely to lose. That the facts on the ground the facts don't come from Truth Social. They come from reality, the real world on the ground. And the facts on the ground did not justify the deployment yesterday. Don't see how it can justify the deployment today. And you can't take the facts on the ground on August 8th in Los Angeles and somehow transport them up to 1,000 miles to Portland, you know, a month and a half later. That's just not how it works. So we're going to make that argument. We think it's a very strong argument. And I will say that Trump has put the lie to his own claims about the necessity of the National Guard in Los Angeles. If they were so necessary that they needed to be deployed on August 8th, 300 National Guards people for another 90 days through Election Day, by the way, then why are they all being moved out of Los Angeles to Portland? Because they're not needed in LA, and they never were. And you know, you don't get a clearer admission than this to the fallacy of the arguments by the federal government as what moving these 300 federal troops out of LA clearly acknowledges and admits to. So the geographic tethering, the temporal tethering to these orders is critical, and you can't just deploy troops whenever you want, wherever you want, because of the facts on the ground in one city at one point in time.
Next question comes from Leah. You're now unmuted.
Hi, Attorney General. This is Leah Russell from the Sacramento Bee. I am wondering if you can sort of speak to whether you think that your request for a TRO will kind of follow the same outcome as what happened here in, with Charles Breyer when he said that